YNW Melly's next court hearing has finally been announced. Now, this next court hearing will determine if the evidence found on him will leave him in prison for the rest of his life, or if YNW Melly will be getting released. You guys need to hear about this, so let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so here's the situation right now for YNW Melly. Melly has been sitting in jail awaiting his trial now to start for the last few years. Now, this is mainly due to the fact that the law enforcement, they're having a very hard time finding some hard-hitting evidence to put this trial to rest. Now, this is to be expected, as this is one of the craziest court cases of all time in the music industry. They're having such a hard time figuring out that this court case that YNW Melly is in, as when YNW Melly was with Juvy, Sakchaser, and Bortlen, on the day the quote-unquote drive-by happened, there was no witnesses, no street camera footage, and the law enforcement, they can't even find the firearm that was used on that night. They pretty much are struggling to find any sort of evidence. Now, YNW Melly and the YNW boys, they were driving home from a late night recording studio session when suddenly YNW Melly says a car pulled over their car and then just started lighting it up. Now, YNW Melly practically explains this as a war zone happening out onto the street. Like, I'm talking some real like GTA kind of stuff happening in the middle of the street. YNW Melly and everybody in that car, they had no choice but to just duck for cover in their vehicle, which sadly got hit very, very hard. I'll even have some photos up here on the screen of YNW Melly's actual car that he was in that night, just so you can kind of get more of an image on how serious this night was for YNW Melly. This was some real like GTA stuff going on, as I mentioned earlier. But the real reason as to why YNW Melly has not been released yet on bail is due to what happened after the drive-by happened. YNW Melly and YNW Bortlen, they were the only ones who made it out of this. Sadly, we did lose Sakchaser and Juvy, but allegedly, YNW Melly actually ended up taking 40 minutes to get some sort of help for his two best friends who needed serious medical attention. Instead of calling for an ambulance or even just law enforcement in general, as a literal drive-by just happened, YNW Melly decided to take Juvy and Sakchaser all the way up to the hospital himself. Why did it take 40 minutes? And while the law enforcement seems to have their answer now. Now, YNW Melly's cell phone was actually being held by his manager since he was taken into lockup. Now, this phone now had a warrant for it, meaning YNW Melly's manager had to give up this phone to law enforcement or else he would be getting charges himself. Now, YNW Melly's cell phone being taken into law enforcement is huge, because they can do what's called a data extract. Now, this means anything that was ever on that cell phone that even has been deleted will be brought back to life. Any deleted text messages, photos, Snapchats, anything, they will all be brought back. Not to mention, there was then a court document released saying the following: these particular cell phones, which were both iPhone 10s, were on a T-Mobile network. And so when T-Mobile, they have a very interesting feature where it will tell you the environment that this cell phone is in. So from these cell phone records, I can tell you the exact moment that Demons got out of the car and staged the drive-by location. In case you're unaware, Mr. Demons in this court document is actually YNW Melly's last name. Pretty weird, but this is huge. Right now, the law enforcement, they truly believe that YNW Melly actually used that 40 minutes that we spoke about earlier in the video to basically use that time to rough up his vehicle, kind of to make sure his vehicle looked like it went through absolute war, then actually proceeded to drive Juvy and Sakchaser to the hospital, and then basically also call law enforcement at the same time, so then when everything got together there at the hospital, it would all sound sound pretty legit if you look at his vehicle. It definitely looks like it went through some sort of drive-by or something. Now, that's when another court document ended up being stated in this file. This court document goes on to say, then also we have a video of Mr. Demons admitting to doing an act towards 2 individuals in the head. And again, allegedly this was actually found on YNW Melly's cell phone, which this cell phone being given to law enforcement could actually be what puts YNW Melly in prison for the rest of his life, sadly. Now, if this is true, and YNW Melly's lawyer cannot come up with a good defense on this one particular piece of evidence, YNW Melly will be facing life in prison. Right now, YNW Melly was told in his next court hearing. Now, the next YNW Melly court hearing will be getting taken place on July 23rd, which again, this is just a hearing, but it could be the last court hearing that we have until the trial starts due to the newfound evidence that I just shared with you today. Now, the last court hearing that we just had, around a week ago, there was actually a small photo taken of YNW Melly. As you guys can tell here from the picture, his hair, it's getting pretty long. He's starting to look like a bit different as well. And there was even rumors going around that during this moment here in this photo, you can actually see kind of tears coming out of YNW Melly's eyes as he was begging to be released on bail. Now, that hasn't been confirmed as of yet, but even looking at the photo, you could tell YNW Melly looks pretty upset. I just really wish he comes home soon. Sadly though, due to this new evidence, this could actually keep YNW Melly behind bars until the actual trial starts due to how severe the charges are right now. At the July 23rd court hearing, YNW Melly's lawyer could ask for bail once again, as he has been doing every single court hearing, but I strongly doubt it, sadly, that he will ever be released on bail due to YNW Bortlen already being released on bail. YNW Bortlen and YNW Melly, they were actually arrested on the same day for this case. But YNW Bortlen was actually granted bail around a couple of months ago, leaving YNW Melly in jail awaiting the trial to start alone, while Bortlen has actually been grinding out his own music career. People actually claim that Bortlen actually snitched on YNW Melly, which is why Melly is sitting in jail and Bortlen's not, but that has been confirmed to be not true at all. So if you did believe that, it's not true. And again, if you are new to the channel, leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. It's been District Trending, and I'm out. Peace.